Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, good morning again, everyone. So the control center is basically, as Mr. Foster said, a secure online system that allows different users to be on the system to add different um, to enact their roles that they would play towards the certification of CVQs for students. So we have the the TVET Council would have certain login rights and they would have access to certain parts of the information. Then we have centers that have a certain role to play, and we had that session yesterday where they are able to create what we call a cycle, which is a period of training for the beginning and the end, and will detail to the control center what program is being run, what plan that is that the students are going towards, who are the assessors, who are the internal verifiers, and who are the candidates and attached to which assessors. So that is the setup that the centers would be doing ahead of time. And then we have the assessors and the internal verifiers who have a role to play within the certification. And that's today's session will show you what is your mandatory role, what is your that you sorry your mandatory input into the whole play of the control center, what will be required of you towards the certification of the candidates. And lastly, we have, well, not least, the candidates. They have their login information as well, where they can access the control center and see all the different qualifications that exist, all the different training providers that offer it, as well as they are able to go and see which units they have already been awarded, and like they can tell if they have full qualification or what else is needed. So everybody plays a part. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to go through the uh, login of the control center as an assessor. The assessor and IV and EV roles, they all have the same type of account, so it looks the same, except the internal verifiers would have an additional role to play, additional role on the control center, but they have the same account, so it looks the same. Going to share my screen now, and you let me know if it is that you can see it. For today's purposes, we will be using the demonstration site, which is that does not store live data. So we'll be able to interfere with the data without thinking we causing some mass destruction anywhere else. So there's a live site and there is this demonstration site which we use for training purposes. Can everybody see the screen? Now the thing is, the way this Teams is set up is that I will be on this particular screen, so I won't be seeing the screen with the meet. So if it is that you feel free to ask questions throughout the session, that's fine. But you might have to let me know if somebody is hand up or if somebody has a question because I won't immediately see it. Okay. Everybody seen the screen? Mr. Foster, you seen the screen? Hello. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Yeah.
I think I get.
You seen
Yes.
the screen? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
we've seen the screen.
Okay, great. This is technology makes a lot of things possible, but it also takes away certain things, and it just takes away the fact that I can't see from your faces if you understand, if you're seeing. So just bear with me every so often. I like to do a little check-in. So, um, as I said, the control center is the same face for everyone, but depending on your login credentials, you will be given access to different side of things. So I'm going to go in as an assessor. For those who attended the session yesterday, it's the same site, except I'm using different username and password, which would give me a different main panel. So this is the official Assessors main panel. It will also be the same if it is that you were logging in as an IV, because I will keep repeating. You'll find I'll repeat myself sometimes just to make sure that the information is hitting home, that the assessor and the IV have the same type of account, except the IV is given a higher security role than the assessor. So as with everything, you have the normal standard, the normal data management, where you can edit your profile, which is your address or your phone number, your email that has changed. You can change your password. So I won't waste time going into those little things. Um, we have also given the assessor search to assessors. Now there are some areas, the functionality that you would have in common. So if it is that you attended the yesterday's session, you might find this a little repetitive, but just to let you know that sometimes the centers, some information that the centers have, it's the same information is available to the assessors, like the assessor search. So the assessor search is all the persons on the system who are been certified or who are approved to be an assessor according to the qualification area. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the information communication technology, and you will see that we have two names listed underneath this. For those of you who came yesterday and wasn't able to see this, I told you there was like a little glitch that was able to solve it. So therefore, now now you can see the list of names. So you can see that I have a Ken Seeley and a Colin Reed. The phone numbers are given and the email is given. So this is the information that is given out. So if you as an assessor want to change this information, like update your phone number and your email address, like to use your work email and your work phone number, you are able to do that in the assessor profile information. So that is so at this time, if you wanted, you could contact these assessors for whatever reason, for consultation or whatnot, what have you. At any point in time that you want to go back to the assessor main panel, you can go to the My Portal up here and double click. Now, hovering over it also gives you shortcuts. So when you get more familiar with the system, you can use the shortcuts in order to get to where you want. But anytime you're lost and you're trying to remember where it is that you want to go, you just double click on the My Portal and it will take you back to the main panel. So the assessor notice board is just a notice board, as with anything else, that if the TVET Council wants to send information, this may not be their main source of information, but it could be a secondary or tertiary form where they can send this information to assessors, just letting them know certain little things like probably the standard is a new standard is available, standard is retired, and whatnot. It's not the main source, but it is a form of way that a form that they can send information to you. So as an assessor, you might want to check up on the candidates. So we've given the candidates database available through the candidate profile page. So if you wanted to see details about a particular candidate, um, I will go ahead and run a search here on a John Doe that I had created yesterday. So I'm searching to see if there's a John Doe on the system. And there he is. Yes, he was born 2007. So this is my guy. So I would click edit, say okay. And then the information now populates to the bottom. The information now populates to the bottom as to who this John Doe is. So I have his ID here, his username. I have the point of the person who registered this person. because candidates can come on the system through different means. They can be created by the candidate themselves, because if you look to the top to the right, there's a candidate application form. The candidates can be registered by a training provider as well as an assessor. So this is just a matter of noting where this came from, in case there are any queries as to the data itself. So we also have this area here, which is the profile picture, which we only allow to be entered by either the center or the assessor. Just a headshot of what the candidate looks like. It's not a mandatory field. It's just a nice to have. The fields that have the red asterisks are the ones where it's mandatory. So here you can see the different information about the candidate, and if the address, and if it is that they had an emergency contact, and if not, you're able to add one as the assessor. The center is also able to do this function as well. If you scroll up a little bit to the top, you would see that there are areas here. So under the qualification, you would see all the units and um, full qualifications that this candidate would have already been awarded. And underneath education and working life experience, when the candidate themselves log on, they are able to add further information, especially when they are doing APL, about their education that they might think is relevant, or their working life experience. So all of this information will be available to assessors to see a whole picture of what the candidate information is about. What kind of the candidate's profile. And the assessor has editing rights, because what happens is when if the candidate has um, created the account, they are able to change their, and the personal information, they are able to change from here, from the contact. They could change their address and they could change their phone number and whatnot, but they are not allowed to change their national ID, which is the unique identifier to make sure that there's only one account per person. They are not allowed to change their name, because what we don't want is for persons to keep switching names and requesting reprints, because that is um, well, fraud. We don't. So in order to eliminate that, we don't allow them to change their name. However, we allow the assessors or the senders to be able to change the name in the event that they misspelled their name when signing on, because it happened. Um, Scroll up to the top, and you go back to my portal. So that is candidate profiles. Enroll candidates, it's um how we do the training, what I think you all refer to as a cohort. The system refers to it as a cycle. There are a lot of different training providers will have training centers and institutions would have a different names for it. They have semesters, terms, cohort, cycle. We just use the simple word cycle, which just represents the period of training. So when this when the center is signing on, they are responsible for creating the cycle, which says what qualification plans are being used and who are the candidates and the assessors attached. So once you are attached as an assessor, now you would be able to see the candidate, you'll be able to award units for that candidate for that particular qualification. One of the ways you can see the entire list of candidates attached to you is by coming in this area. And let's say, so you would, when you drop down, like I'm just choosing cycle, but you can choose whichever way you want to look for the information. So if I go by cycle and I choose that I'm going to my demonstration, my test data is AF Thomas Boys School. So I'm choosing that training provider and I'm choosing the cycle ICT. And I want to see who are the candidates attached to me. So because I don't know if you saw, I was signed in as Colin Reed. So I'm seeing here in this cycle that the center has created that there are three candidates attached to me for the qualification information technology. Now, if um, I need to add another person, I can always go here, click to add, and oh gosh, do the needful, but it's not coming up here. But the thing is, it has to be also the even though you have the remit to add the qualification, sorry, to add the candidate, you have to also work with your center because we try to be as flexible as possible in this system. So we allow the assessors to add candidates to the cycle. However, if in certain centers, if it's not your remit, then that you don't have to do this. It's just a functionality that is available, but you will have to rely on the processes within your center itself. So if your center says they have no problem with it, then you can go ahead and add to the candidate. If not, then you would have to just send the information to the center for them to do it. It's an area for both. But here we can see that I have, as an assessor, I have three candidates attached to me for this cycle. Um, Going back to the main panel. So before we move on, any questions there, or are we good so far?
So far, so good, ma'am.
Oh,
Question.
yes.
When you first signing into this portal, you're using your name and your ID number?
No, you will be issued sorry. When you say your name, you mean like your actual
The
name, or
assessor or ID or whatever.
you will be issued a username and password in the
Oh,
beginning.
okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Okay.
That will be done by TVET Control. That can't be done by you. So
I have a question as well.
yes,
Right. My question is, if you are in a position where you function as an assessor, you might function as well as an internal verifier and as an external verifier. Will you have three different sets of credentials or just one credential?
one.
Right.
And
It-
I will show
it-
you later where the difference
uh,
is. But that's why I kept saying it earlier on that it's the same for the assessors, IVs and EVs. It's the same account,
okay. All right. Thanks.
right? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So continuing now. Now there's a managed assessment, but I won't go into that now because that is would not be in within the first phase of our rollout. I don't want to confuse, so to speak. You could also go to manage cycle because I know it's a lot of information coming at you. So going to manage cycle, here you are also able to see the different cycles that you're attached to. No, because before where you went, it was just the candidates. You were looking at the candidates that were attached to you for a particular cycle. Here you're seeing all these cycles. Now, as an assessor account can belong to more than one training provider. So here you will see all well, for this particular assessor, he only belongs to one RTP and currently he only belongs to one cycle. But if I was to just do a search, I would see that information. So currently I only belong to one cycle and I can, if from here I can click the view candidates to see all the candidates, to go back to the page that I showed you before, all the candidates in that particular cycle. So just goes back. So let me just reiterate that. Under the enroll candidates, you would see who are the candidates in a particular cycle, and you can add one if you need or delete. Manage cycle tells you all the cycles that you as an assessor, IV or EV, is attached to. I shouldn't say EV, IV. And EVs are not attached to cycles, only IVs. So underneath here, you see all the assessors, all the cycles that you're attached to. I won't go into these others at this time. So what I showed you so far is just basically data housekeeping in terms of you're able to search for an assessor, look for information, change your password, look at your personal information, check on a candidate data. Those things are optional things. Those things are just to increase your knowledge, or not the knowledge, just give you more information because you know we are in a data driven world. So that gives you more information and more uh, independence than having to rush everywhere for information. The most important part, the mandatory part that you play as an assessor is to award units to the candidate, and that is underneath the candidate unit awarding area. So let me just set up the scenario. So far, the center would have created a cycle, which is just the period of training, would have indicated what qualifications are ongoing for this training period, would have indicated who are the assessors and to which candidates uh, each assessor is attached to. So training would happen and happily happen and be completed. At this time, you know exactly which candidates would receive which units. So you go underneath now. Now you come and you log onto the system using the login credentials that you were given, and you go to candidate units awarding. Now, the convention of the control center everywhere is to search. The search facility is always on top, and the adding is always at the bottom. Yeah, somebody opened the mic, so I thought there was a question. Okay, so um, so the idea is that we like to search. We tend to search more than we tend to add to the database. So that is why we have the search facility first, and then the awarding. Secondly, the convention of the control center is when you search, when you open up a page, it does not list any results. It doesn't mean that there aren't any results. It's just that we try to facilitate a fast upload to cater for people with slow internet, with outdated devices, and etc. So therefore, it's have this ability where it is you just see the information blank, but it doesn't mean that there aren't any information. So now that you would want to award the candidate unit, because as I said, training has happened already. You're ready to award the unit, so you click to award candidate unit. As the assessor, once you're the assessor, you're the first person that goes in. You choose assessor, you choose which training provider you're going to be awarding for, because as I said, an assessor can belong to more than one. You choose the applicable cycle. So in this case, in our test information, we're going to choose ICT, and then we're going to choose the information communication technology and the version number. Immediately now up pops the three persons who I had said before were getting who were in the cycle attached to me as an assessor. Now the cycle could have more persons in it, but these are the only three that were attached to me as an assessor. And on the right hand side, you have the qualification broken down into the units that you have to award to the person. So at this time now, I could go ahead now and award the units. Now, the relationship could be one on one, one to many, many to many, and many to one. In that one candidate, if you could select one candidate and then select the unit, one unit, or multiple units, and then say click save. they would ask you, are you sure? Because you aren't able to delete the units as an assessor. So you'll read through the units and you make sure, yes, I want to submit those units. I click save. Or you can say you want to have many candidates. I could click all the candidates and I could click a particular unit and click save. So I'm saying use presentation software and I want to award it to all my candidates. Yes. So as I said, let me repeat that the relationship could be one to one, one to many to many, or many to one. It really just depends on your comfort level. It depends on the scenario because if all the candidates get all the units, it might just be easier to do all to all. So it really depends on the circumstances and of course your comfort level as a assessor entering the information. You might want to go one on one for the beginning and until you get a little bit more comfortable, increase it. I want to give John Doe all the units. I want to show you that the error message that will come out because if you remember, I would have given John Doe the presentation software earlier. So I'm giving John Doe, I'm saying I want to give him all the units. So I wanted to, I deliberately wanted to do that to show you that this is the error that comes. This error says that it was not successfully and they want to tell me something went wrong. If I scroll to the bottom, I would see that I had already verified him for a unit because I don't know if you remember that I would have done all the candidates and given them one unit. So unit can only be verified once. Sorry, not verified, awarded once. Once it's awarded by an assessor, it can't be awarded by any other assessor. So it would have flagged me that it's flagging me that that particular unit already has somebody assessed it, right? And if I watch the assessor code, it is my assessor code. I know I just did it, but it's just showing you how the error message will come if there's an issue. Second thing I want you to note is that you would realize that John Doe is no longer on my list of candidates. That is because I have finished awarding him all the units. So there's no more unit in that qualification for him to be awarded. So he's removed from the list of of um, applicable candidates, right? So any questions before I want to now go in as an internal verifier to show you the difference between the IV and the assessor. But before I move on, any questions?
Hi, good
And
morning.
quick question.
Question.
Yeah.
You were saying that if you enter information with regards to the unit and you wanted that change, what would be the process after that? Who you would have to contact? Because my understanding is you're saying that we can't change it ourselves, correct?
Correct. You would have
So
to
what would be the process if you needed it changed?
that will have to be there will be somebody with administrative rights in the TVET Council who would be able to delete any units that have been mistakenly entered.
Okay, thank you.
The reason that we don't allow the deletion at the assessor end is because we just don't want anyone to remove that important piece of information. We want to document it and that the units were mistakenly, just to remove any signs of um, corruption. So it will be open air. If you understand what I'm saying, because as something as important as units, and even like something as important as names, you realize we lock down certain deletions of it. So
Yeah, quick
I
question.
understand it. I understand.
yeah,
Yeah, quick question. When you are assigning, can one person for a CVQ have more than one assessor? And how
yeah.
so that they will be allocated just so they could just see these 5 units and the other person will see the other 6 also?
Okay, so what happens at that point in time is that the center has to play a role there, because when in creating the cycle, you have a one-on-one relationship with the candidate and the assessor, right? So you put on, so the center will put on the candidate and say, let's say assessor A. So assessor A now goes in and awards the units that he is supposed to award, right? And then then indicates to the center that, okay, well, I am done. So then as the center now goes into the cycle and switches the candidate assessor association to now assessor B. So now when assessor B goes in, he has access to the unit, and then he could verify, he could award the remaining units.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Understood. Thank you.
Excuse me, Michelle, we're getting some reports of low audio. I'm not sure if you're speaking directly into your mic.
Yes, yes, I am. Mhm.
Okay, and we're suffering some low audio. If it is
No.
a universal issue, it could simply be an internet issue, and our apologies there, but I don't think there's anything much we can do beyond that now. So I'm still hearing it, but I would agree the audio is low. But if it cannot be heard at all, it could be a situation where we might just have to rely on getting that video to you. I'm
Is
sorry.
is it that the audio got lower, or it was always low for me? Respectfully.
I have it wasn't low for me before, but I've seen at least 3 or 4 reports coming in of persons reporting that the audio is low. I'm not sure if it started there, but it seems to be in that state now. I'm going to try to work with
It's
our.
quite good.
It's quite good. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Then in that case, then it could simply be a local issue related to your internet bandwidth from your end. If it is fundamentally good, with the majority of users, which I can't speak to, but if that is the case, since it's only been about 3 or 4 calls that were raised on it, it could be an issue, I think, in terms of local internet bandwidth. But I'll still be doing some checks here with Mr. Aline on that, and I'll get back to you if there's anything that we have found here. Sorry for the interruption, Michelle.
That's okay. So okay, so now I'm going to sign out as the assessor and signed in as the internal verifier. So just to show you, this is how the page would look. Click up here to log in. This time I'm going in as the so now I am the internal verifier. You see, it looks the same. There's no difference to tell me that I am an internal verifier until I go into the same candidate unit awarding. Scroll to the bottom, click to award the candidate unit. So underneath assessor type now is where you will see the difference. When you click down, you would see that I can play the role as assessor or internal verifier. So at this junction, I'm going to say I'm an internal verifier. I have to say which center, which cycle, which qualification, version number. Oh, I don't think I explained the version number. Because this is a live site, sometimes you might have like little tiny changes. Most times when there's a qualification plan updates, it would update with a new code. But you have human error. Sometimes there is a tiny change, so there may or may not be different versions of it. Most, like 99%, it's only going to be one version. As I said, it's just a way of organizing or allowing any anomalies that tend to happen when you had a manual system that is being brought online. So this is just to cater for that in the very rare occasion that there is 2 versions of a qualification with one code. but most times it's just one version. You choose it and you move on. So you see now you have these three candidates come back up here because each of them would have had units that would would have been put forward by the assessor. So I want to show in the case where okay, so I have these three candidates here, but I don't know if you remember when I did the awarding, I did some for Goldwyn, all for John, and some for Mackie. As the internal verifier, my job is to make sure that the units that put forward by the assessor, I'm verifying that I am in agreement with those units. So to see what the assessor has put forward, I can click view. And to the right, you would notice that the list is reduced to just what the assessor put forward. So then I can click all of that and say save for the candidate. I can also, so then oh, sorry, I need to close this because this is says Francis. So I just close it. I get back the two buttons here. Now I know John is everything. So I can say, but I can also go the normal with not doing the click any view and click all and go through. So you can do the same things, which is the many one to one, many to many, and you can go through those associations, or as I said, you can just click the view button as the internal verify and see which units are being put forward. Now I am deliberately not going to choose this because I want to show you the differences. So another part of another area that is given information to the assessors and IV's lab that would not have been easily come in before is that you're also able to track what is going on. So if you scroll to the top, under this candidate or unit awarding where I have just awarded candidates, let's say days happen, weeks happen, and you just want to check on the progress of your candidates. You can also do that through this search facility. So I will come here to go, I'm gonna do it by unit, or no, let me do it by candidate, right? So let's say I want to know what is going on with a particular unit. So I say as an assessor, so I just search for the candidate. All the units that have been awarded to the candidate pops up on the top here. I can see what status they are at. They have to go through 4 stages before they become approved. They have to be awarded by the candidate. Sorry, the candidate has to be awarded by the assessor. Then it has to be internally verified. Then it has to be externally verified. And then it has to be approved by TVET Council. And then it would be an approved unit that the candidate can check. So if I come back to, let me do it from the unit side. So the training provider is here, and the cycle is that. So I can do a search and I can see immediately all the candidates in that particular cycle and where they all waiting at. So you could immediately tell that I only have 1 unit for Maki. And if I'm a internal verify, I realize that that he's awaiting internal verification, which is me. So I realized I didn't do one of his units from here. And as well as you could see if at future, if it is that it has been approved, so you're able to give you're able to see information about the units that you put forward, how they're going and where they are at, in case you wanted to know or follow up. And that's it. That's the whole show. Any questions? I'm seeing Janelle, you have your hand up. Janelle Hayward.
So when you search for a candidate, what candidates?
Sorry. I'm not hearing properly. In the search,
If you search for a candidate and there are multiple candidates with that name, does it just pop up and ask you to select the one you want? Maybe in the name or something?
okay, I'm hearing you, but it's not clear. I'm hearing if it is in the search for a candidate, there are multiple, and then I lost you.
Is that clear?
Mr.
Um,
Mr. Foster, are you hearing
excuse
any
me, ma'am.
better?
Yes, excuse me, ma'am. Are you using a headset or you're using the mic
Is
on
it
your
any clearer
on your
now?
laptop?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, I'm here.
it's a
Yes.
bit better, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, good. So if you are searching for a candidate, John Doe, and there are multiple candidates called John Doe, does it pop
Uh,
up and give you maybe middle names or something to select?
oh, can all candidates are issued a candidate ID, right?
Yes.
Most times that is how you're going to identify them. That is how you're going to use you. That is what you're going to use to make sure that you have the correct candidate. The names are given there just to help you. Um, I searched for John Doe because I know that there's only one John Doe in the list, right? But
Yes.
if you notice, when John Doe was searched, there was a candidate ID that came up. So I, as the assessor, should know his candidate ID. That is the way that is the way we're going to identify the candidates. This is the
Understood.
first
What I'm
and foremost.
asking is,
Yeah.
let's say there were three John Does. Would it just return me a results list with all three John Does and then I have to filter through? Or is it going to give me a pop-up to select which John Doe
No,
I want to go for?
if you're going to search here and you're going to search by John Doe alone, you are
Yeah.
not only go, you are not only get you would not only get all the John Does, but you would get people who have Jonathan Doe or Jonathan Doen. So
Right. Okay.
it's not
I
going to
really
pop
and truly
up.
have to search by the candidate ID.
Yes, so you that is why I am saying that the candidate ID is the premier way of making sure that you have the correct person. Because the thing is, we had a facility where we had these two persons, these two candidates, they had the same name and same address. So we thought it was a duplicate, not realizing it was father and son with the same name. So we to just to out of abundance and cautions, we try to rely on the ID to make sure that that is the person who you're looking out for and not use any of the other information. So that will be
Okay.
your identifier.
Understood. The other question, I don't know if I missed this earlier,
Uh,
relates to evidence and stuff. Is it that we're still using the Google Drive for the evidence? So when we come here, we're literally just coming here to award. Is evidence being uploaded here? I don't know if I missed that earlier.
okay, so for now, as this system, this is where you come to do the uploading, right? I think when after it's rolled out, then they could better TVET Council will better able to identify where you have other points because there are other functionalities in the system to cater for there's some of the areas that I skipped. Um, but
Michelle,
in
maybe I should
in
have a word here.
mm, mhm.
Yes, ma'am. We will be replacing I think it's a Google Drive that we're presently using now for the e-portfolios, if I am on the right path, I think. And what we'll be doing is that within this system, in what is going to be called, I think it's a system Docker. Just one moment, please. Let me review this again. We're going to have a facility where you will be able online to within this system to access what would be our digital locker. And the digital locker would have the provision, would give the same functionality and maybe a little bit, and sorry, not maybe, but definitely more functionality than what you presently had with Google. But I think right now we're just taking those our critical first steps, but we'll be showing you that a little later.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. I'm sorry, Michelle.
Oh, sorry. Um, I'm just sitting back, forgetting. Okay, sorry. Any more questions? I just assumed anyone else who have a question would have asked. Sorry.
Right. I have a
Yes.
question. Right. My question is, are candidates that are in the current system, will they have to be transferred into the new system, or will they just finish in the old system?
What we're going to be doing is candidates which are in the existing system now, we're going to that's going to be maintained, and that who are presently being in the process, presently in the processing using the old system, that would be maintained until the end. And then after the 14th, what we're aiming to do is have all new what we would have called grids, which are now called cycles. We're aiming for after the 14th that they should all be entered into our live online system.
Okay, thanks.
You're
I
welcome,
see
sir.
Joanne Hart has an hand up.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, sorry.
yes, please.
Now, from
I
my
um I
side, excuse me, I just want to make a point here. From my side, I'm starting to encounter some internet issues from my system. So if I'm too quiet at times, it's because I'm maybe trying to figure things out. But please, by all means, go ahead.
can go ahead now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The question was related to the candidate award unit. Now, Michelle would have spoken and said that the assessor would have signed off, click the units that the person would have been awarded for, the IV, the EV, and then finally the TVET Associate Council. Now, my question was basically how soon, or can you give an estimation, say that TVET would be the last person signing off before you can be fully awarded, would that process take? Reason being is that sometimes when some assessors, say for instance, have done, some candidates have done work and they have been awarded, TVET takes quite some time before they can actually look at the portfolios, et cetera, et cetera. So can you know with this new system, will the process be faster? Will they be constantly checking the portal to see that units have been signed off? Just asking a question.
If I may, ma'am, I'm not an officer of the TVET Council. I'm a consultant with responsibilities for the implementation of this application. But from what I have seen, the previous system which we were using was although we were using spreadsheets, there was still a significant amount of manual processing. I think, and it was manual processing from different entities. What we will be having now is one online database system, from which we would have a situation where there's input from the centers of the center information going into that system. And then what will be happening then is that we'll have then our assessors, again, who are now working online, accessing the same system. And they'll be doing their required task. And then finally, TVET at the point of certification, of award and certification will be doing their stuff. Now, the difference of before and after is significant because after it means we're just all accessing one system, we're all working in one system. And my fundamental thoughts on that is that definitely speaking, it will be less time. But I've since I've not done a review of what was the turnover in terms of the last system, of what was the average turnover in the last system, it'd be very hard for me to tell you that difference. But I think in terms of what I've spoken to, I think that we would expect a definite improvement. But I cannot tell you the exact timing it would be, but I think we should see something pretty well improved. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that. You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
If I could also say one of the things that the system does, at least from the experience of Trinidad and Tobago, is to give more accountability in that everyone, a lot more players were able to see exactly when those units were awarded. So there, it was harder for us as the NTA to hide, so to speak. So it gave more accountability on our end to complete the unit awards in a timely manner. Um, Ms. Harewood, do you have another question?
Yeah, just a quick question that came to mind, and I'm not sure if you'd be able to tell me this now because Mr. Foster did say that the evidence locker would be, digital locker would be coming on later. Just checking, when we award here, is this taking the place of our signing and dating, and that the evidence itself will no longer be signed and dated? Is that how it's working, or am I off track there?
Uh, you're not off track. It's just that those questions would have to be answered by TVET Council in terms of they would have to decide. Okay, in any new system, you run a parallel system, and based on how the parallel is run, then they would decide are the changes moving forward. At least I'm speaking from the experience of Trinidad and Tobago. So we ran the two systems together, and then eventually we decided to drop this off, drop that off, drop that off because it was being catered, and we were fully confident that the control center would have covered for certain areas. So it's so that is a question. That's a very great question, but I think that will be answered in time.
Right. I think I can
Okay, thank
offer
you.
a little bit of no, ma'am, don't run off just yet. I think I can offer a little bit more. Similar to what Michelle has just said. In essence, we would have um, drafted process, what we call work processes for different functions. So in terms of certification processes, in terms of sign off and whatever have you, yes, the system is going to be doing a significant amount of that work for you, but still we would be having a quasi parallel system along with the old system from the perspective of looking at tweets. So for instance, you want to make everything as efficient and as slim as possible, but nevertheless, we still have to identify key processes which maybe cannot be handled by an online facility. And we might have to, for certain functions, we have to say, hey, you know what, for this specific issue, whatever have you, maybe we're going to have to have a sign off on this, a physical sign off. However, saying that, I will still say this to you, that if we have a situation where a center has, let's say, completed a cycle, and when I say complete a cycle, they've entered all of the candidates. The name of the cycle has been set, the times, the dates, everything has been set. And then that information is passed to TVET. TVET will have the option of deciding, well, do we take the official communication from the center? We have now finished. This can now go to the next level. Is that all, or what internal processes maybe for our audit, for our audit purposes, for our validation processes, do we use in terms of uh, a type of sign off or a type of validation or a type of stamp? Do we use maybe digital signatures? So there are things that we are still working on, and I think as Michelle said, in the evolution process, with that of our first run, we're going to be seeing those things, and then we will be making the appropriate decisions. But I think fundamentally, there's no need to worry about things being lost and things going All right. It is just that we're going to be trying to make the best decisions, not the leanest decisions and saying, hey, everything is all automated. There's no need for any sign off or what have you. No, no, no. We will still have processes which deal with sign-offs. Maybe it will be signatures, maybe it might not be signatures, I'm not sure yet. But I think we're just dealing with the essentials and ensuring that we can deliver on the essentials while we go through the headache then of deciding exactly in terms of our internal processes, what will be used. Does that answer your question with any degree of comfort?
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Quick question. Due to like the migrations of one person moving from one island to the next, will this system be linked to any of the other islands so that you can do any checks or balances from one country to the next?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. I'm going to let Michelle answer this for you, but in terms of my work on this system, because I don't come from education background. My background is hardcore systems, working with banks and other entities and whatever have you. But what I have seen is that with the amount of regional integration taking place and inter-island travel, and the fact that the TVET Control Center, Trinidad, TVET Control Center, Barbados, and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think TVET Control, is it St. Lucia?
Yes,
The fact that these are all running on the same platform, the same systems, the same entry portals for exporting data and for importing uh, data. It'd be so easy to create what is called a data bridge, that we could be able to, if a particular candidate has changed jurisdictions and a Barbadian has left Barbados and is living in Trinidad now, there are possibilities are open. I think, however, that if anything is going to stop it from happening, I think it's more so going to be on the legislation and the political process. But I'll let Michelle speak to the rest of it.
Yeah. Um, that has been on my Christmas wish list for the last 10 years because with the whole CSME, obviously, we have to be able to accept and be able to see each other. And it's unfair to ask a candidate who has partially done a qualification to redo all the units in another country. So it has been on my Christmas wish list. I even mentioned yesterday that I would have loved also to have access to the CXC database, which is not included on this database, but it's more than just so the wish is there, the ability is a problem. Well, we getting there because the more the control centers out there, the more we all speak from the same book. But some uh, countries don't have this big database, which might be easily transcribed. However, more important than that is a political issue in terms of the different unique politics within each country, the sharing of data to see if it is that we are breaking any privacy laws that each country might have. And there's also and so I don't know if that push could come from Cantor, that if Cantor speaks like that and pushes that, if that could if the countries themselves could find a way to share this information. So right now it is not shared, unfortunately. Fingers crossed, but as I said, that is a more a it's a deeper it's deeper than just the ability to. It's a political thing. Um just look how long anything gets done within CARICOM, and you would know the answer to that question. So, fingers crossed, and it's still on my wish list. And I hopefully the more and more people get on board, is the more we can get this synergy going. So that's my formal answer on this recorded chat.
Thank you both.
No problem. Any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. You have to mention how long you can have access to it after a certain time. So
A lot
after you
access
do
to
the
what?
process
Mm-hmm.
to the system, so after the TVET system, obviously you will get the opportunity to go in and do what you have to do,
Right.
and then after
Yeah.
that it locks, kind of like locks off.
No. This gives you information at all times. So this information, so the units once they're awarded, they are you can go in at any time and see. So if somebody comes 2 years, 3 years afterwards, you can still go and search for that information and see what units that they have been awarded. I think you asked the same question, something similar yesterday with respect to the pre-existing cycle. So that once you have access to the information, it's not they're not going to get deleted. Things don't get deleted, so to speak, on the system. So you see old cycles, candidates, old units, everything is there, because we recognize that we live in an information age. It's data driven, so we have given the data. Yeah.
Right, and also in terms of as an assessor, my colleague would have mentioned earlier that you sign off and date it and so on, for the evidence purposes. So after that, we have hit awarded, then obviously we can't go back and change anything.
You
Correct.
mean, yeah, once it is that you awarded a unit, the only time that could be changed, well, it can't be changed. It could be the awarded unit could be deleted, but it has to be deleted by the TVET Council. So if there's an error there in terms of whatever reason, you would have to well, it depends on what the error is, because I don't think an error for if it is that you awarded it, the date the data awarded is such an issue. But then again, I don't know, because it normally tags the date you awarded as the date awarded for by the assessor, but it still has to go through all those checks before. So once the TVET Council awards it, that is when the unit is officially um, dated as awarded. So there's no editing of that. There's just deletion, and that's done by the TVET Council if necessary. Does that answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have a question, ma'am.
I have to say, I am this before you answer your question. I just have to say, I am loving dealing with you guys. Y'all are so polite. I love it. It's a Barbados thing, I am sure. But I just have to say, I appreciate. I've never been called yes, ma'am, so much times. I love it. I just needed to put that out. I don't get that treatment here in Trinidad. Yes, Mr. Braffett. How can I help you?
I'm hearing persons ask about conflict with regards to this process. Like, that's how I'm putting it. So the assessor goes
Mm-hmm.
in and they do their awarding.
Mm-hmm.
IV makes his or her check, and there's a conflict with regards
Between
to the
between the IV and the assessor. Uh-huh.
assessor. Yes. How is or will that be addressed?
Okay, so that is a process that I like to identify to centers to say, okay, so because this unit cannot be deleted, I need you to go on at a time where you are sure that the IV is in agreement with it. So it's not so it's it will have to be that you know how your center operates, you know how your group operates, and you know for the most part these are the units that you and the IV is in agreement with. Because even forget the control center, if it is that you and the assessor and the IV is not in agreement with a particular unit, that would have to be resolved before the EV comes, correct?
That is correct. That's why I'm at the IV and the
Yeah.
assessor.
Right. So therefore, what I'm saying is any type of that has to be taken care of before. So the assessor wants to upload at a time where they are mainly sure that these are the units, because they can always go, like if there's a unit in conflict, they could always add at a later date add, if it is that they get some rational, if it is that the person agrees to it eventually. Because what you don't want is that you award and the assessor awards and the IV refuses to verify that, because then that that blocks the candidate from ever receiving that unit until it's deleted. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so I don't think you've touched the IV work yet. But then if there becomes a conflict with the IV,
No, but that's what I'm saying, that conflict has
sorry,
to be.
the EV now in the process.
Uh-huh. So what I'm saying is basically those things have to take place as usual offline, and whatever your offline process is. I am saying to save the upload up until you know for sure. That way you don't have to go about deleting the unit. Because if the EV refuses, there's nothing you could do but have the unit removed if it is that you did upload it as the assessor or the IV. Because we get that all the time here. Yeah, we have sometimes. Okay, let me give you real time.
Hello?
We seem to have lost Michelle. We can't hear audio.
Thank you. Michelle, are you there? Hello? Hello, Michelle? Let's just give her a couple of minutes. If she's lost, we'll see if we can get her, um, we can get her to log back in. Just one moment, please. See if we can contact her otherwise too. Just one moment.
Hi, hello. Yes, I'm back on. Sorry about
Great,
that.
Michelle, that's good. Thank you.
I really don't know what happened there. Glitch in the matrix. Yeah, so I'm not too sure where I uh, got cut off, but I would just say, so the example given in Trinidad is that we had like the assessor and the IV, they find with some units, and they are the EV, for whatever reason the candidate may not have come, or whatever it is, the EV did not agree with giving a particular candidate that unit. So the at that time, because the in Trinidad's instance, the NTA would have already been involved at that, so the NTA would have known that a particular candidate would not get the units, so uh, they would action within here internally that those units be deleted for that candidate, and they list the reason for auditing purposes, and that's it. And then the person at well in our respective person, which is me, at the NTA, would go ahead and delete those units for those particular persons. So it's not a big deal. It's easy to delete. It's just that it's you want to make sure that it's documented for future references. If anybody comes to audit the system, there would be a reason why that this is the deletion was asked for. So So I don't want you to feel as if it is like a hard and fast rule that the units will be existing forever and ever. They can't be deleted. It's just that you have to document it. That's all. That answers it, Mr. Bradford.
For the most part, yes, ma'am.
And also, I wanted to note. Did you see where I showed the search for assessors that I couldn't show you yesterday? You saw
Yes,
that today?
indeed I did see it, ma'am.
That was just for you, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
I haven't seen the occupational areas
What occupational areas?
for the assessors. That's what I had asked about yesterday as well.
No, that I showed that. You want me to start again?
You went into okay,
Where
okay,
you
yeah, you did. You did
under the
because yes, you
yeah,
did because we identified ICT yesterday as the area.
yes,
All right, very
yes.
good.
Okay
So
then.
that's all that you would have in the system right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's for that demonstration side.
Yeah, yeah,
The live is expected to have all. Okay,
yeah.
so that was. I just want to make sure that you saw that.
But
Yeah.
I think what you're saying to me though with your response is that there must be some dialogue with the persons involved, uh, center wise, TVET council wise, so that we're all on the same page, um, with regards how this process is executed at the end of the day.
Yes, because each center might be different. TVET Council might have their own things that they want in place first. I can only say from a Trinidad and Tobago aspect of it that
Yeah, I understand
we
that.
we yeah we dictate when to put up the units. Before we send out an EV, we want the units uploaded. So because of that, we are aware of the fact that sometimes some of the units need to be deleted for whatever reason. So we just have a process for it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, uh, Janelle Harewood.
Yeah, just off of Raf's question. If so, basically you're saying that there's no way for the system to document kind of a back and forth. So let's say the assessor awards, the IV says no, some of these some of these things haven't been dated, or some of these things haven't been signed off, um, or I don't agree with the answers on this quiz. There's nothing on the system that would say IV says no, and then just for historical purposes, just for a log, and
Right,
then we come back to the assessor who resubmits, and then the IB says yes. So
right.
that entire resubmission process would not be documented. And then
No,
my other question would be, if we do have to dialogue first before uploading and or before coming on to award, it means that the date that we are awarding will always be different to the date that we've actually done it with the candidate. Does that matter at all?
okay, so let me answer the first question. With respect to the documentation of the actual process, those things are process related data. So the system is not keeping process related data. The system is keeping certification data in terms of the units awarded for the candidate. To keep a process, the data you're talking about will involve like a system that is developed for a process. And that comes with its own pros and cons with it because yes, you would have all of that backup and every set of information, but if process changes, the system needs to change. So what we have here, and this in Trinidad and Tobago, we have two systems in place. We have the internal processes where we have we use Google Apps and those different things in order to document in the processes itself and the data that comes off of the processes and any anomalies. We have data, we have other systems to capture that. This control center is really to capture the awarding, when it was awarded, who was awarded what, right? So that's one. Secondly, you asked about the date, sorry. The date that the assessor went up and put on the units is what is marked for the assessor. The second thing would be what is marked for the IV. But the unit itself is only officially dated as awarded when the fourth person, which is TVET Council, goes in and does the award. You understand?
Yeah, I completely get
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm just saying the date will, so it's almost like we should, because I was thinking that because of this system now, I'm gonna have to log in on the day that I did these three candidates and make sure I award then, because otherwise the date won't match what they've signed off.
Well,
But you're
I,
saying that there has to be some
yeah.
discussion first. So I'm assuming that then we would go on afterward and maybe one would have the same date.
You know, that question really would be on with respect to if TVET Council if it matters to TVET Council. Because at least in our scenario, it does not matter to us when the assessor puts up the units, when the IV puts up the unit. What matters to us is that the before the EV is called, the units are put up. That is what matters to us. So the date that the assessor did it and the IV did it, it doesn't matter. But if it matters in TVET Council's processes, that would be different. So I guess you have
Okay.
to find out if it matters to them to that extent. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Caroline Adamson.
Hi,
Oh, I'm seeing. I
Adamson.
forgot.
Adamson,
Sorry,
yes.
I people butcher my name all the time too. So don't please don't
It's
be
okay.
offended.
It's okay. I
Yeah.
get that often. My
Yes.
question really was, I know you would have shown us the process for the assessor and the internal verifier, but for the external verifier, is there any changes in terms of the login, and how then the external verifier would then have access to, the documents?
Yes, there's only one change for the external verifier. The external verifier has the same, it has the same look. They go to the same area. The only difference is that the external verifier is not tied to a center because they are external, right? So which means they have oversight of all the centers. So when they're going in to do the award, whereas the IV and the assessor could do the drop down for the RTP, the external verifier has to start typing in the RTP name for the dropdown to appear. And that is because, as I said, they belong to all they could EV any center. So once they go into click when they click to the units awarding, they would have to type in like I think it's like four at least 4 characters and a drop down appears. They choose the RTP and then they move on exactly like the others. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Pamela Tanis. Hi, Pamela Tanis.
Ms. Tanis, hello. Maybe she stepped away for a moment.
Okay.
Are there any other questions then? Excuse me. All right. If we don't have any other questions, I would like to thank Michelle again for what I think has been an excellent presentation, and for also offering some insight into the benefits of the TVET Control Center and how it's going to what it's going to bring to our work in terms of efficiencies and value. So Michelle, thank you again. And just to the others, just to be reminded that the videos will be made available to you next week. And these videos will be, in essence, what we'll be doing is that we're going to have them shared. We're going to have them placed, sorry, in the cloud in a secure location, and then we will grant access to you. Access will be granted. I'm not sure if we're going to use a general
Oh,
password. Oh, sorry,
sorry. Yeah,
Mrs.
nothing.
Okay, sorry, Ms. Stas, I'm sorry. You could answer a question. No, please.
She says, what role does the technical officer play in this? Technical officer is somebody from TVET Council?
Yes, that's a technical officer who would be assigned to a center.
Well, I guess that would be a question for the TVET Council to answer because I would not know.
And I can't answer it, but I will make a note to ask our officers.
You're welcome. Sorry, couldn't answer it.
So with that, Michelle, thank you again.
I want to say thank you very much. As I said, the hospitality from Barbados people has been very endearing. I love it. I don't think, but I don't know if you'll realize how polite you all are. It is very refreshing and I enjoyed it.
Well, maybe we can try and see if we can steal you from where you were to come here to help us finish off this TVET Control Center, but maybe not. So thanks again to everyone
I have a
too.
question before we close, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday, you indicated to the centers that were in the meeting that there would be follow-up, small sessions to go through stuff and make sure that they were covered before they went live. Is there a similar process for the persons who are here? Because right now we have assessors, IVs, and EVs, whose roles are going to be slightly different in the process. And this was a general session, right? Is there a plan for moving forward with regards to the personnel that is here today?
Right. Mr. Braffett again. Yes, sir. What we'll be doing is, and for the centers, we're going to have a center rollout process where we'll be doing a lot of validation, double checking in terms of the centers, the qualification plans that they're certified for, the EVs that are assigned to the centers. We're going through that process with them. We'll also be going through entering cycles with them. And then what we wanted to do is to have a session for just assessors by themselves and just go over the assessor process. And we also wanted to have a session for IVs, again, just reviewing the process, and also for EVs. And what we're doing is that we have a test site, which is what we've been using. But what we'll be doing is that the test site is going to be used for us in those sessions that we'll be having, using the test site and test site data for individuals so that the practice can take place within that test site. But it has to be what we'll be scheduling and we'll be organizing that. Mr. Braffett, does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does, sir. So my last comment, my last thing then, will you put a little bit more information into the test site?
No, we will be having information. Yes, we have information inside the test site. And we'll be making sure that the information there doesn't have any issues or challenges. Actually, in answering the question, the issue we had yesterday, that little blip, I think Michelle found out that the programmers of the systems were, I think, doing what Michelle called, what do you call it again? It was a routine
A flush.
maintenance,
It's a flush.
a
Yeah,
routine
some of the
maintenance
data is flush.
process, and that caused that hiccup that we saw.
Yeah,
But
but
we will be
I'm not on that.
providing data set up on that system for us to use.
Right. So right now there's one school on this test site.
Yeah, and then that would. Could you give me a moment, please? Just one moment. Yes, Mr. Braffett.
Right. There's one school on the test site. I'm just asking if maybe there'll be 2 or 3 schools, yes, imaginary or whatever, on this site, so that when I go in or you demonstrate to me that I can see what happens when we're moving between centers. If as EV, as was said a little while ago, that EV is not assigned to a center, then just how that EV will be able to manipulate and work by seeing more than one center and seeing the choice being made and that sort of stuff. This is a competency-based environment. I think a lot of us learn by doing or learn by seeing. And I think that would help with regards to the overall understanding for the persons who are in this meeting.
Right. The plan that we had really was to just have one center, and in that one center we would have what we call over there. We'll have dummy students, dummy EV. All the data would be dummy, but what it would do is it would give everyone the facility to log on. So you would even have, let's say, assessor one could be the name of the assessor. The EV, sorry, the IV could be assessor IV. The EV would be assessor EV. So that the rules, you would just be logging into a templated rule. Because fundamentally, to really configure multiple schools, multiple centers is quite a bit of work. So for us, I think what our plan is really would be to set up a number of students, to set up a number of IVs, a number of EVs, whatever have you. And then in doing our test sessions, you would just be given one of those assigned roles. So you would, for instance, would not be in there as Mr. Braffett, but if let's say that you were playing the role of an assessor, you will be given the name of that specific assessor was associated with that test environment.
Yes, but
And
functioning,
that
functioning as external verifier.
mhm,
I just heard Michelle say that the
mhm.
external verifier is not assigned to an institution
Okay,
like the
would you
assessor.
like me to quickly demo what I was speaking about? So you can see it's not that you do really need the list of a lot of training providers, but there are more than one training providers on the demonstration side. But give me 2 seconds. Let me quickly
And that
show
I'm
you.
asking. That's the
Yeah.
question that I'm asking.
Yeah,
If
no,
there's
that's
more
it. You
than
don't need
one
it.
training
Yeah,
provider,
but you
so
don't
that
need
I can go in and make the selection like you said.
right. But
An
when I'm
external
saying to
verifier.
you, what I'm saying to you is you don't need to have multiple RTPs to see what you're doing, to see what you're asking for. So I'm just briefly showing you the site, the you see the page. So I went in as an external verifier. So my drop down was external verifier. The RTP, there is no drop down here. It's blank. So I have to know which training provider that I am dealing with. Now, right now on the system, there are multiple training providers, but I just have to put in the first four letters, and it's done. It's reduced now to those 21st four letters, and I go through the list. Now you're only seeing one, but there are multiple training providers on this particular website. So once I choose that RTP as an external verifier, then the information goes in as possible. So whether or not I had one training provider, 10 training providers, I still need to know the RTP that I need. So once I start typing that in, the drop down comes down, and then I select, and then I do the same selection as before. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay.
Okay, so you typed here was there a drop now?
So when if I go in as a anything else, right? Because there's a drop down, right? So it would have been only so if I go in as an assessor and the IV, the drop down would have only those assessors and IVs that I was attached to.
I'm with you,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm
So
just talking about
once
this.
I chose the internal verifier, once you have that additional rule, the it's now not a drop down, it's a normal text box. So once you put in at least four letters, you would get the drop down come down. Now I have the drop down of the center that I want. That's
So
because the
you're
EV has
saying the drop down
overlapping.
on you're saying the drop down on your end.
As soon as I typed in, okay, when I typed in,
Right.
let me.
What I'm saying to you is that I'm not seeing a drop down on my end. So that's
Oh,
the issue.
you're not seeing my
No,
drop. Okay,
no,
so
that's the issue. So we're good.
okay, you're seeing now. You're seeing. Let me just put in the four. You see where the drop down comes down? I'm not going
No,
to click select it because
I'm
it's
not
right
seeing
here.
the drop. I'm not seeing the drop down.
Okay, but what I want to
I
say too
understand.
is
I
that
understand what you said. So
yeah,
we're good.
but in these training sessions, because of the amount of persons we went through the way we went through, but when you do the individual, smaller sessions, that is more hands-on and more you logging in and you playing around, so you get to see for yourself the limitations and the extent of the system. So it will be way more hands-on than this, right?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Mr. Foster. Sorry for cutting you off.
I'm sorry about that. I have to change the color of my mouse because my screen is white and the mouse is white too, so I missed it. So, Mr. Braffett, is Mr. Braffett still here? Anyhow, though, but we'll be working. What do you want to reiterate to everyone in this entire process? This is not the end. We've had this training session. We're outlining to you our moves in terms of of what we'll be doing to transition centers, to transition individuals over. These trainings will be kept and maintained for the duration for I think probably forever we'll have them there. But more importantly is that TVET will be here as an active resource for you. Okay, we are setting up our service desk. You have the telephone number to reach us. You have our email address, especially the email address. The email address, once you transmit your concern, once you transmit your issue to us, that is kept on log. We'll be checking those logs every day. My promise to you is 2-hour response time. 2-hour response time during working hours. At the end of the day, 2-hour response time by morning between 8:15 and 10:15. If your request came in after hours the day before, if your request came in a Friday, after hours, we'll get back to you the Monday between 8:15 and 10:15, 2-hour response business time.